needs no introduction. He's a longtime member of our organization and a very well-respected, prolific writer. And we're very fortunate to have him with us this morning to give us some pointers, some advice, answer any of our questions with this small group. We can certainly do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, without any further ado, happy to have you.
Thank you all for coming out and not being skiing right now. But anyway, how many people skied yesterday? How many people stopped to take the time to jot down a few thoughts that you had? Okay. How many people went out to dinner last night? How many people took the time to stop and jot down a few thoughts about the meal? Okay, you all drove here? For the most part? And when did that light go off in your head when you passed that restaurant or that museum or that vista that you said, I have to come back here when the snow melts? Anyone? All right, for everyone but you did. Thank you for coming. You know, basically we are writers, and we are here to tell a story. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, and it's trite, and I think I've only said this like in front of the mirror and in the shower, but we all have a muse, like it or not, accept it or not. Hey, cut that out. See, and there is the muse, kicking me in the butt, saying, why are you letting the cat out of the bag? We all have this internal recording device that comes and goes, or perhaps you've made a deal with your muse to show up and write at a certain time, in a certain place, at a certain time of day, what have you. But we all have that because we are storytellers. And I absolutely advise you to be in touch with that muse, with that inspiration, whatever you want to call it, because it is going to nag you. It is going to keep you up at night. Accept it. We now have no reason, whether we write it in a book, whether we text ourselves, whether we call on our cell phone to our landline in our house, there is no reason not to accept the muse when he or she is knocking at your door. And when he or she does that, you now have an idea for a story. It is wonderful, and I thank you very much for public relations. We are inundated with press releases and tweets and social media and things I haven't even thought of yet. And these are all wonderful resources. But if there's anything, if you take anything away from our time this morning, not only do we have a muse, we also have our voice. In this world of social media, where everyone is a writer, choose to be, where everyone is a photographer if they choose to be, where everyone is a broadcaster if they choose to be, where everyone can become a filmmaker. The one thing that each and every one of you have, that no one is your voice. And maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm egotistical, but that is worth something. And that's what separates each and every one of you from everyone else out there. And it is up to you to identify that voice. That voice is shaped of your experiences. That voice comes from who you are. It comes from the grandfather in you, the grandmother in you, the neighbor in you, the cousin in you, the guy shoveling snow in you, whatever. Everything, all of your experiences shapes that voice. And it's up to you to figure out where that voice goes. And this is now where I have to go and check my notes. Because with that voice, you are coming up with unique story ideas that happen when you are skiing, and when you are eating, and when you are driving. And it is up to you to act on stories. Like I said, it's wonderful that we all are fed press releases and tweets and stuff and have, you know, we can go to YouTube, but we all have that. And yes, we can all look at that and take away our different impressions, but come on. Let's just use each and every one of us because we are all unique. And I think that shapes our stories. So you have to figure out, where do you fit in? And skiing's wonderful. Who doesn't want to go out on the slope, head off, and have a bunch of swords and, we're all wonderful and great and aren't we special? Well, and sometimes we are, but most often we're just people doing our jobs. So, skiing. Figure out what you like, what you're good at, what is your expertise. So, skiing. There's the business side of skiing, the economy side of skiing. As travel sections, sports sections sort of shrink their coverage of their sports, figure out where else do you fit in. When the season's over, there's the story recounting the dollars and cents. When the season passes start coming out, there's the economic story of buying now versus buying later. Then there's the infrastructure. In terms of when all the new snowmaking and the snow guns and the new trail and stuff. Yes, but here's the other thing. There are also the people that of course is economics, that of course is business, but don't forget, there are also people who own businesses who are skiing. Maybe you could do something about them. It always comes back to the people. It's always about the people. It's always about people when you're strapping on your boots and you're stepping into your bindings and you're going onto your skis and you're grabbing. All of those are stories. That's the hard goods side of skiing. That's the gear. It's not for everybody. Frankly, I'm one of those guys, I open the refrigerator every day. I don't care how it works. Okay? I go to my car, I know where the gas goes. Nowadays, when the oil light goes on, I know who to bring it to. But I'm not necessarily, looking to delve into the inside of it, what makes it tick, but perhaps you're curious. Why not gear? Why not? It's a wonderful thing to do. And who knows? It comes with perks. We all love, Lindsey Vonn, Bodie Miller, Michaela Schifrin, wonderful stories. Well, at least Vaughn and Schifrin. And then, of course, snowboarders. We have, this is the land of, Kelly Clark and Ross Powers and doing things that we look at and say, that's a twist and a flip. What's a McTwist? I have no idea. What? No, thank you. Give you a bottle of wine. But we all tend to look at the pros, and they're wonderful, and there are people who can get us to the pros, and it's part of the pros' job to talk to us. That's just the name of the game, and it's access to these people. Here at Gunstock, there's maybe a race going on, and you're seeing those high school kids. You're seeing those junior kids. They are racing through gates. Now, maybe they can't talk to the press because they're teenagers and perhaps their teams or their parents don't allow them to, but the coaches can talk to you. Maybe the parents will talk to you. We're all interested in Lindsey Vonn, Michaela Schifrin, but what about the Vermont Catamount's? What about, the UNH team? What about Winter Carnival? These are all, again, find people, find what you are good at, and get those stories. They're there. Every weekend, they're there. You talk. They're sitting with you on the chairlift, if you want to get on the chairlift with you. And after you tell the kids to put the bar down, they might ignore you. They're there. They're there. Sorry, I'm just apologizing to everybody who aren't here. Sorry. Okay. That's my muse. Anyway. All right. This morning, all having breakfast. Another element to riding is food. Who doesn't like food? Food is wonderful. There are so many places you can go for food. Skiers, snowboarders, they want to eat. They really do. They want to drink. Those places where you have the good food. They will take your because you are a respected writer, storyteller. They look to you for where to tell people where to go. This is how our watch tell us where to go. There's a joke. not a good one. To the ballpark every time. But again, food, another excellent way to tell stories, utilize this organization and your love of skiing, perhaps snowboarding as well. And to take food one more level, brown bagging it. Brown bagging it. What are some of those favorite things that you like to take to the slopes? What are those favorite things that maybe you do it as a friend? Maybe you can, when you're out with your grandkids, with your family. That's another thing. As these, as skiing and snowboarding shrinks, where else can you put skiing and snowboarding? Put it in the food section. Put it in the business section. Okay, it stinks that the space is less, but you have to recreate who you are, and you have to find your. Okay, boom. Which, again, brings me to travel and ski towns. All right, around in North Conway, what's there in North Conway instead of Cranmore? Here, you're at Gunstock. What does Guilford have? Going by, and yeah, it's a nice ski town and everything. I mean, nice community, but yes, it's also, you have Laconia, you have the weirs, you have all those boats waiting, for the lake days. What is around here that for people who might be coming for a long day, coming for a weekend, talk a little bit about the ski town. Again, North Conway's easy. Lincoln is easy. There's some nice towns in the Berkshires of Massachusetts. Stowe, Vermont is easy. Look at it more instead of the mountain as part of a bigger community, and how you have some information to share with people. Family. There's so many family publications to have the whole family element of it. Go down Stone Stellar, everyone is, getting ready for the day, and families are heading on out. One thing I noticed unique that I'd never seen before here, you have those heat lamps outside. I'm like, what? Where else have you seen those heat lamps? What the heck am I talking about? Those damn heat lamps out there on, connecting the pods. Where else have you seen that? Okay, keep your eyes open. I'm sorry, toast marshmallow? Okay, yeah, s'mores and stuff. Yeah, well, is that where you do your Sunday s'mores?
No, we actually burn wood for that.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. We can go down that road, but let's not. Okay. Again, there's so many things that we all go by. And here we go. Now people are staying active longer, and it's wonderful. And we have a very active, I'm just going to say, AARP population. Okay, what is unique to an older skier, an older snowboarder? How can you, them, enjoy the experience? Is it the gear? Everyone wants to know when they're 70 where they can ski for free. I don't know that there's any, now you have to be 80. But, did you know if you are a New Hampshire resident and you are 65 and you can prove it, you can ski for free Monday through Friday, non-holidays at Cannon. Cannon. If you are a New Hampshire resident. Then, some ski areas in Maine have their Maine days. If you live in Maine, you can ski for $30. All right, I think Bretton Woods has a $25 ticket if you are 70 and above. So, there you go. See, $5 at West Mountain. They're West Mountain only ticket. See, that's yes. You have your they're the county deals. Gunstock has a county deals, and other ski areas have county deals as well, providing you prove it. But just as an aside, I mean, the other day I had a conversation with someone, and we were kind of kidding around, saying, "Gosh, remember the times when we used to get our fake IDs so that we were older? Well, now with technology, why not do it now? I mean, I would love to get a fake ID that shows I'm 65. I'd save some bucks, Now you just go to your printer, And wouldn't it be ironic that you're getting it from the same person that you got it when you were a teenager? So anyway, okay. You see? So Thanks for that info. I'll look. Okay. Anyway.
I got mine.
Cool. Okay.
How do you make them? That's a college.
And also as we go along for places, certainly the beer leagues, the recreational leagues. Oh my gosh, are there characters at these places? The fat guy in the GS suit. Talk to the fat guy in the GS suit. There's your story. That's pretty easy. That's a no-brainer. Very, very easy. Another place that I know sometimes maybe you don't feel comfortable, what have you, are incredible. Whether sometimes there's a generational gap, but you find someone who looks good doing what he or she is doing in those terrain parks, I can almost guarantee they'll talk to you about it. They'll try and talk to you in a way that you will understand. But it wouldn't hurt to do a little homework and maybe learn a few names of tricks. But just don't let the conversation go too deeply so they just figure out that you just know the name of the tricks and nothing else. Another place for the story ideas, of course, this time of year are the events. And it's not just listing events. We can all list events, and let's call a spade here. Some days we hit a home run, a grand slam, and some days, we're just, we hit enter, it's a paycheck. But the idea is to really give it your best. And when it comes to events, when it comes to things that we all have access to, think in terms of looking ahead to think in terms, okay, spring is coming up, and they're going to be pond skimming. So get in touch with people. You have the marketing directors. They know who someone on their staff can talk to you about pond skimming and turn it into a how-to. I mean, have fun with it. Should I try it? Is it about speed? Do I have to be aerodynamic? How long is the pond skim trail surface? When did the ski area start to construct it? Are they filling it with green water? Are they putting in purple dye? How long is it going to last? You could make it into a story if you so choose. Just sort of look ahead to this and give it a shot. And this, and lastly, I guess this is a list of 10. Me again, it all comes down to the people. And again, if you so choose, every chairlift ride you take is a potential story. And in this day and age, there are people who are much more media savvy. It could be at the end, hey, look, I don't mean to bug you, but, my name is so-and-so, and I write for such and such, and be okay, can you here's my card. If you want to get in touch with me, maybe I'll do a story, or subsequently, do you want to give me your email or cell phone, and what have you. It doesn't have to be that day. It could be in a week. It could be in a year. It could be in 5 years. You eventually get to it. And subsequently, as I look around here, we have lots of experiences. So you meet somebody on the chairlift and they remind you about the other characters. And there's your column, the cast of characters over the years. You come here, you come to Gunstock, and okay, you had a beer, here. Then, oh yeah, well, gee, when I'm at Gunstock, I'm here, and when I'm at Cannon, I'm here. Boom, 10 ski town pubs you have to try. You look back on your archives on those days when how did I get to this place? Oh, geez, I took that turn. What a schmuck. But anyway, you look back at you look back at what here, everyone now has an archive. We have our history of ourselves and what have you. On those days, look at it. I mean, yes, we all sometimes like to wax eloquently about the past, but if you could have some meat and potatoes about some people, maybe they were a racer, maybe they were a great-grandfather, what have you, just weave it into a narrative. We all have the ability to do that if we so choose. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, if I may, just a few technical things about writing, if that's okay, or if anyone has any questions, or feel free, if you'd like, now's a good time if you want to go skiing. I'm not offended. Okay. Okay, here we go. First thing you absolutely have to do when you write a story is to put your name on it and spell it correctly. I'm not kidding. I am absolutely not kidding. Yes, I'm a writer. I'm also an editor. And put your name, spell it right. Because I might forget, put your name on, and does Kelly have an E? and I don't really care. I don't need the time. I don't want to know. I don't want to have to research it. Put your name on it.
So, I have a question before we go.
Yes, sure.
One of the things we end up discussing all of the time.
Yes.
Okay, is the difference between quantity and quality. Okay. And whether or not someone is quick to write or
Right.
you know, if you listen to a lot of people, you know, particularly at our age, or my age anyway, things like ink doesn't work. Right? Ink, though, is becoming part of the language. You know, how firm are the rules when it comes to that kind of? Because the language does change.
Yes, the language absolutely does change, and certainly nowadays.
Ink might not be the best example. But
Well, you know, if you're quoting someone and they say inked, use it. You know, at what point do you feel comfortable saying gnarly? You know, at one point, do you feel comfortable, dude? I like being called. Well, it's funny. I ski and I also snowboard, and it's kind of funny. There really is and I will get back to answering your question, but I really just want to kill a little bit of time. But when I'm on skis, and when I'm on a snowboard, I am absolutely called dude. If I am on the edge of a trail, sitting in the snow with a snowboard, you know, people come over and go, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" If I'm sitting on the snow and I'm wearing skis, it's, "Sir, are you okay?" So, but getting
older dude.
older, yeah, dude.
Don't get that sir stuff.
Yeah. You know, look, I mean, the way it is that knowing when you first hear sir or ma'am, just know that if you don't like somebody and they're in their 40s, do it to them anyway. But I think in terms of language, I think perhaps it depends upon the publication or platform you are writing for. I think it also depends upon how comfortable you are. I mean, not only do we have vernacular to deal with, but we also learn new words as writers. And so maybe you could look at it that way, that here's a new way to express yourself. You don't particularly have to like it or something, but you know, if you learn a new word, I don't know that I learned a new word yet this year, but when I do, I say, hey, maybe I could weave it into a story. What? Yes?
I recently did a piece about, of all places, Blue Hills. And I mentioned how under the lift there is like this screed. And people said, what's screed?
So scree. If you're a hiker, loose stuff. There you go. You see. So I don't know if that answered your question, but just in terms of know your platform and you know, different words that you may feel comfortable with. Subsequently, also when you're doing a story, put a suggested headline on it. Generally speaking, the better publications and platforms, you will not see that headline. But at least it shows, in my opinion, it shows the editor that you're given just a little bit more thought to this. And if you happen to get someone who's phoning it in that day on the copy desk, at least you could say, hey, I gave it a shot, and it sort of just capsulizes the story. Stick to your word count. Absolutely stick to your word count. If I'm an editor and I assign you a 800-word story, I don't want 1,000 words. I don't. I'm happy with 800. I know you can't always nail it on the head. Sometimes 790 is okay. I could digest 825. If I'm in a good mood, maybe 850. Stick to the word count. And don't file it thinking, oh, it's good, but I know they'll make it better. No, make it the best you can. Meet your deadline. Okay? Meet your deadline. Because when you do these things, you are making your editor's job easier. And that makes them maybe like you a little bit more. They might think about you a little bit more when they have an idea for a piece, and that does happen from time to time, though not as much as it used to. But it does happen. Sticking to the basics.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait.
Yeah, who? Because I like the shirt.
One thing to let your editor know is, doesn't meet their deadline, you have stuff you can fill immediately for them.
Yes. That is true. You want to be that editor's go-to guy or girl. Yes, you do. And which goes back to, all these things of having a top 10 story or what have you. You should have these stories ready to go on the shelves. I mean, you just should, because that's your job. Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about editing, on the idea that we have moved in the last 15, 20 years away from the form of sending something to an editor. So much of it is, whether it's blogging or whatever, it's self-publishing and all that stuff. Has that, I'm trying to struggle with the idea that self-publishing, brings about a decline in quality if you're over here on the traditional side of games. Right?
Well, yes and no. First of all, you're talking to someone who... No. Well, it's a wonder. Yes, it is. It all depends upon your perspective on things. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's self-published 3 bicycle books. All right? Actually, 4. Which were, 3 of them were probably mistakes. But anyway, nowadays you could make the argument that every post you read online is self-publishing. And subsequently, people have gone on and done tweets, been contacted, and got a book and movie deal. So there's your answer, yes and no. Okay. Read, yes.
When you're writing for print versus writing for digital, the style, I'm sure, is the same as your style is your style. But do you kind of change your formula because of the different medium the audience is using?
I would love to tell you that I know who my audience is, but the truth is I have no clue. My audience is the person who, out of the blue, says, I thought you'd be older. Or, or whatever those little interactions you have. I thought you'd have hair, or, whatever. I did. You should have done 30 years ago. But that's who the audience is. That said, when I sit down and write, and I do something for the Boston Globe versus some other publications, I definitely know that I am writing for the Boston Globe. I absolutely know that. That is on my mind. Does that influence me? Absolutely. Should it? So, one can make the argument you should think of that all the time when you're writing, and it doesn't matter who you're writing for. So,
what I was thinking is, electronically you have more space. You can give it more of a space.
Well, not all the time now. Now again, people say, I'm just publishing you digitally, but you still have a word count of 1,000. It's not unlimited space. It's just maybe a different number. At least that's my opinion. Subsequently, again, certain publications, if you're not that, you might feel real cool if you got an assignment from Rolling Stone. Hey, groovy, and certainly that may influence you. Or subsequently, if you write more for a local publication where people are more inclined to know, good old Bobby Jones, or Terry Smith or whomever, that you sometimes, have a little bit more localisms, colloquialisms, if you will, versus some stuff that if you're writing for a city newspaper might go unnoticed, what have you. So read your stuff and don't just rely on spell check because it's weird. And yes.
One other thing, if you really know the editor and you're doing something that's unusual, language or stuff, you need to tell your editor what this unusual language is.
Yes, you could do that as well. A note at the top
To make sure
to make sure that it's understood. Also, subsequently, if you want to use words with italics, be sure at the top of the story in a note to say, because not everything is translated when you hit the send button, that, whether or not let's say you want to use a word like gracias, or you're having some fun, or what have you, definitely let the editor know at the top of the story that there should be italics in this word, in this paragraph, etc. Photos. Photos, generally speaking, if a publication likes horizontal versus vertical. Generally speaking, I believe that you should give them a choice if you can. So a few things. One, absolutely include a caption for each photo. Absolutely, if you are identifying people, you do it from left to right, and you have their first and last name, and they are spelled correctly. And they also are in that way in the photo. Also give yourself photo credit. Again, it's like putting your name, photo by. And here is the kicker. If possible, number them. Have the numbers agree with the number in your captions. And then you send the photos individually. And you let your editor know. If it's going to be 3 photos, you're going to send the first one, number 1 of 3. The second one, number 2 of 3. The third one, number 3 of 3. This makes their life easier. Yes?
In photos,
Yes?
what about, like, if I take a picture of a family out here,
Yeah.
do I have to get a release from them? If I can see their faces?
Well, that's,
And what if they have goggles on?
yeah, I would just avoid that situation by contacting your neighborhood ski area and say, hey, got a family photo? And we're done. Sure.
The model releases. A model release, if you're using it for editorial,
Yeah.
you don't need a release. But if you should be using that for a bill or a brochure, most definitely have to have.
Just part of an article you don't?
No.
Okay.
Most ski areas with every lift ticket we sell is actually in the implied language on the back of the ticket.
Yeah. But if it really gets down to the,
We spend thousands of dollars a year on.
But it goes to the copyright.
So we don't have to worry about it.
but it goes to the copyright, if it's challenged, then you will want to see a separate model release for that photo, for editorial.
So a question.
Yes, sure, please.
Who said? And have those recording. Okay, it's all, okay.
There's probably like sort of in
One lawyer of that
Yeah.
person that says, why did you use my photo? So I didn't know whether those rules change as the world has changed.
And just talk about model releases, if you are using some model releases, definitely tie and number the model release and the date to that photo. And in place, in some footnotes, or just on the package of model releases. Don't throw them all in the drawer and just leave them. But for editorial, it's not right.
Okay, so, and then, sort of, some people may go and interview people and wonder, how do I put together the story? And subsequently, I know, first, you got to do your homework. Do a little bit of research, go beyond the press release, let Google do its magic, and come out with, sort of different ideas. We can interview people so many different ways now. We can do it through email, we can do it over the phone, we can do it in person. Generally speaking, I prefer in person because you pick up on nuances, which sometimes just make a story, and sometimes you're just chatting and they'll tell you something. Subsequently, sometimes it's easy to paraphrase and get a quote if you're just doing something through email, what have you. But whatever you do, you have those questions, and there's your story outline. There it is. And also, if I'm interviewing somebody, I know that I've done my job well, this light will go off. Because by the time I turn away, I know what my lead's gonna be. I just know. I can't tell you how, it's that muse. I can't tell you. But if you do your homework, the light should go on just like that, and you're good. And then the story writes itself, and it doesn't write itself, but then you also have, some different information, which is wonderful. Why, press releases are nice, because like, geez, I need another 30 words. Oh yeah, there we go, okay, done. Thank you, so all right, and then you're good. So I guess the last thing, I don't know, it helps in terms of, nowadays, certainly there are, in terms of relationships with editors and publications, certainly it has undergone a change. And certainly a lot of resources aren't there anymore. A lot of people who we worked with for many years aren't there anymore. We now have editors who are coming into their own. They're generally speaking in their 30s and 40s, and they see the world a little bit differently than people who are older than them and people who are younger than them. So just understand that. Try and cultivate new relationships. But please, 3 things. They all start with the letter P. Be polite. Be persistent. Be. Because there are some people, there are writers, and I'm talking about writers overall, who, a sense of entitlement, a sense of greatness, a sense of this is what I've done. Don't get me wrong. We all think, look at what I've done. But the cliche is, what have you done for me lately? And you have to cultivate these new relationships, and I think they can be wonderful, they can be disappointing, they can be easy, and they can be so hard. But that's also part of the process. So if you have any questions, you can start throwing garbage at me now if you like. So yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. Believe me, I so get that. I so get that. Watch this. Now closer. No, anyway. Yes.
Well, a couple of things on this last thing you said about relationships and developing
Yes.
relationships with editors and publishers.
Sure.
2 parts to that. In today's world, what's the best way to approach them? By phone, by email? Probably not by snail mail.
Given those 3 choices, email.
Email.
That's my opinion. However, the big asterisk is, what do I know? Because it's very easy not to respond to email. A phone call, look, I would email first,
Yeah.
and then just say the phone call is, I'm following up on the emails I sent you. And here's another thing. Spell the editor's name right, and make sure that editor is still at the job. Okay? Okay, second part.
Email is it, or I don't know if correct's the right word, but address them as, Mr. or Ms. or by their first name. Everybody's gotten more casual in recent years.
Generally speaking, I'm a first name person.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, hey, Bill, it would be Dear Bill.
Yeah.
And then after you get the assignment, hey, schmuck. But, no. Edit. Anyway. They probably think the same thing about me, but subsequently, if you think the person deserves a Mr. or Mrs., certainly do that. But generally speaking, I think first names are okay. Sure, yeah.
Each one of them get published in a particular place. You got it.
Yeah.
I approach it like I'm
You're what?
like I'm
Hunting.
Who is it that I'm trying to find?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is it that they do? How do they do it? Where can I get this from? And how can I do it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're hunting this person. You're hunting them to find out what it is they want, where they're going, what their publication does.
Yes.
And how can I get into that action?
Yeah.
You have to say, hi, look on that. Send an email. You can do that.
Yeah.
But it's better to find out, do I know anybody who knows that person? Can I
Yeah.
do an introduction? They got to hunt this person down and really attack them.
And another, two additions to that. One is publications now, many publications now have an editorial calendar at their website. And a lot of them, you put it in, and for say magazines, you have to query 6, 8, 12 months in advance. That's a good thing. Another thing, and I don't know if I'm crazy or not, but there are definitely better times to reach people than others. For people I have relationships with, you get because every email has a timestamp, and generally speaking, I think people just for sake of argument, let's say 9 to 5. People who just check their email first thing in the morning. Well, actually beyond that, well, if you check your email at 9, noon, and say somewhere between 4 and 5, generally speaking, that's when people may, when they first get in, during a lunch hour, and just when they're just about ready to leave. But then the more you know about a person, their emails are more revealing. And then it also depends upon their devices. Some people, will just sit and they'll just do their emails from their, workstation where they're working. And then there's some editors, my God, they've got their iPhone and it's whenever they want. So just figure out who you're with.